Rogers.
Here.
Broder.
Here.
Tellinghusen.
Here.
Massaro. Thielen.
Here.
White.
Here.
Waugh.
Here.
DeVille.
Here.
Penning.
Here.
Sharma.
Here.
West.
Present.
Can I get a motion to approve proxies? Somebody can motions to approve proxies, seconded by Senator Guthrie. All in favor of the motion, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections to this week's meeting agenda? Can I actually get a motion to move university relations and Rutland down to the bottom of the floor, guys? So moved by Senator Campbell, seconded by Senator Bauer. All those in favor, start by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Alright. So any other corrections to the agenda? Additions? Seeing none, approved by unanimous consent. Approval of the minutes. Did you have a chance to look over last week's meeting minutes? Yes. Any corrections, additions, comments? Nobody found any like trivia facts false? Okay, cool. Alright, moving on to open floor guests. Since we moved that down, we have Heather Forney here. She's going to talk a little bit about finance. So,
Hello.
welcome her.
I'm going to scooch kind of to the front. I have nothing official prepared because I assumed most of this would be a Q&A kind of session. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Heather Forney. I'm the Interim Vice President for Finance and Administration here at School of Mines. I've been here for about 4.5 years. Prior to that, I was Board of Regents for 5 years, so I know some of you from my lifetime in Pure, and some of you have had some interactions here on campus. What I was asked to discuss tonight was dealing specifically with, I think, tuition fees, how things are approved, maybe the cycle for that. Things are fairly regimented within the Board of Regents system. So for those of you that don't know, we have sister campuses throughout South Dakota that are all part of the regental system. We're all considered state of South Dakota employees, those of us that work for the campuses, and we're governed by the Board of Regents, which is appointed by the governor. Those regents meet 7 times a year, 6 times a year to make decisions, and so those meetings, we'll have one next week here on campus. We'll be hosting the board. I would highly encourage any of you that are interested to attend. It's great to kind of see the process. But what happens is we're broken into councils. So those of us that are VPs in finance meet with the other VPs of finance, with the other sister institutions. The academic affairs people meet with their people. Our finance group is called the Business Affairs Council, so we refer to ourselves as BAC. We also meet as a subset during most Board of Regents meetings, and then we have one retreat each year that's done typically in September. It's at that September retreat where we will typically take to our sister institutions and the Vice President of Finance for the system any tuition proposals that we might have. So, for example, we went forward with a request to offer in-state tuition to any new or transfer students for any of the states that surround South Dakota. We basically have to get buy-in from all of the other campuses on whether they think that process should move forward or not, and it's by a majority vote. Everybody said, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll let SDSMT do that, and by the way, we want to do that. So that request was moved forward from the Business Affairs Council in September. It will go as an executive session item to the board at their meeting here next week. They'll discuss that in executive session. That's done at that point, not in the public meeting, because they feel like it could inhibit our ability to be competitive with any other university. So they'll take that up in executive session at the October meeting. I'm assuming they'll say yes, go ahead and move that forward. We're hoping then they will do it in the public meeting in December, and at that point in time, the reason we want them to do that component of it is because we want to be able to implement those rates for our next academic year, so that will start next summer. So we want them to go ahead and approve it in December so that we can start our any of our recruiting materials and any kind of information we want to get out to potential recruits as soon as possible. So hoping for a December approval for that with implementation for next year. The rest of the tuition and fee kinds of things happen at a later date. So because we're state funded, a portion, about 20% of our budget comes from general fund dollars, which are appropriated by the legislature. We go through the legislative session, which is a January to March timeframe, with any requests that we may have. The legislature sets what we call salary policies, so those are raises for any of our state employees. They determine what our health insurance costs are going to be, those kinds of things, and whether they're going to fund any other extraneous items. So if we went forward and we wanted to get money for the new MI building, and they wanted to fund that, that would happen during the legislative process. If we wanted to get money for a new PhD program, that would happen during the legislative process. The Math at Minds program, which was successful for a couple of years, happened through that process. So once that all happens, and we know at the end of March, when the legislature has finished meeting, what they're going to appropriate to us, then the board meets and says, well, we've got salary policy of X dollars, and we've got additional funding that needs to be developed for health insurance. The state's only going to cover a small part of that. You institutions need to cover the rest. And how much do we need to increase tuition and fees by to cover that? So that's done by the board. They determine what increase we may need, or whether we're not going to have an increase at all. They determine that change, and that's voted on at the usually the end of March, first part of April board meeting, and those will then go into effect for the new school year. Those are always increases, and the kinds of things that we're going to hopefully get approved in December are decreases, so that's why they can be done at kind of different time frames. But it's always kind of that cycle, and you really want to develop any potential marketing plans for reduced tuition or reciprocal tuition, in-state tuition, so that it goes to that September UC retreat, because you need to kind of get in that cycle. They're very adamantly opposed to being outside those times, dates. I don't know if you had other questions. GAF, I think we had talked at one point about GAF and doing an increase to GAF, if at all possible. The GAF needs to go through that same type of cycle, and anytime there's a GAF increase request that's taken to the board, they are requiring that a vote be done by the student. You need to have a student vote. They're not necessarily saying that you have to have the majority of your student body vote in favor of a GAF increase, but they are saying that those students that vote, the majority of the voting population has to approve the increase. There have been situations in the past where a GAF increase request had gone forward, and the board staff had recommended to the board that the increase not be approved. That particular university brought students to the meeting to express their concern for the basically vote of no confidence on the increase, and it was eventually approved during the board meeting. But I think politically it's probably better to get board staff buy-in instead of making having that conversation that way. So kind of my 2 cents on that. What else do you need to know? What other questions have you got?
I know like when we met, we talked a little bit about like how different types of money can be spent and like can't be spent. Could you maybe touch a little on that?
That's my color money speech. So in government accounting, we have what I call colors of money, or you have buckets of money. Maybe coffee cans is a better way to explain it. And we can only use certain colors of money or buckets for certain purposes. So for example, we have our auxiliary system, which is basically the Survec Center here, the Wellness Center, so the new addition Wellness Center, and the dorms that we own. So Blosser, Palmerton, Connolly, and thank you, Peterson, are those that are within our system. That's what we call a closed system, and all of the money generated in those areas have to be spent in those areas. I can't use them for anything else. So even we have requirements on reserves that need to be set up, because we borrowed money for all of those facilities. And when we borrowed the money, the contract or the bond said, you have to have revenue in excess of your expenditures of 120%. And you have to set aside a specific amount of money for what we call RRR, repairs, replacement, reserve. So taking care of your facilities. And you can't use that money for anything else. So I can't take money that was generated by Survec or from our residence halls and use it to pay a faculty member. I have to use it for its intended purpose and it stays within that closed system. I have to set certain amounts of money aside for the repair and replacement, and I have to have that 20% excess every year. I have to generate that excess revenue. Pat and I have had a couple of different conversations about that repair and replacement. You kind of continue to build a reserve and what you can use it for. And the bond covenants are very specific that I can only use it to repair and maintain the facilities that exist. I can't use it for a Survec expansion because I've added new square footage. I can only use it to maintain the facilities I currently have. So that's kind of one color of money. We have general fund dollars, which, like I said, that's about that 20% of the funding that comes from the state. We use that 100% for our people. So when I talk about the salary policy or increases on health insurance, the state of South Dakota, if I have an employee that makes $10,000 and I deemed them to be generally funded by the state, if the state says I'm going to give you a 1% salary policy or increase on salaries, they'll give me the 1% on my $10,000 employee. They will not give me funding on my employees that are tuition fee funded. They also won't give me any increases in health insurance on anybody that's not generally funded. So typically what we do with those general funds is we make them all people, and we typically make them our lowest paid people because I will get more money, more general funds will be generated through their application of the salary policy, and I'll have more people that are generating health insurance dollars for me. So they cover a lot of those. So they tend to be our administrative staff, administrative assistants, our facilities people are all generally funded. Our tuition and fee dollars, which is another kind of component, the tuition fees that you generate, we use a lot of those dollars for our faculty and our administration, like the president and Pat and myself, that are specifically kind of applicable to what it is that you're doing here. And then we have grant funding, which is all very specific to, you can only spend grant dollars on the grant itself. We generate overhead on those, which is kind of a percentage that's been determined to run the campus. That's divvied out based on a formula. And again, that goes to like the PI, so the person that's in charge of the grant gets a small component, the department that's in charge of the grant gets a small component, and they will typically use that to generate more dollars in grant funding through equipment purchases, hiring their graduate students and assistants, funding travel to conferences to generate more grant funding. So we tend to kind of channel our funds and our dollars into the areas that are specific to the revenue that was generated. I don't know if that was more confusing to you or was there knowledge.
Thanks for coming in. It's actually really interesting. I did have a question. So our GAF reserve account grew this last year. Can you talk about the reasons for that growth?
Sure. So the GAF account, when you do your allocations, and I think I looked at the report, aside from the funding that was set aside for the concert, which most of that happened this year instead of last fiscal year, there was about $17,000 in allocations, SOAP allocations, that were given. The allocation was given to the various organizations and they didn't spend it. So there was, like I said, about a little over $17,000, I think, that was not expended, that had been authorized by you. What happens is that goes back into your reserve account and it sits there. And so we have situations where we'll have a one-time funding request, like the concert, for example, where you've got that pot of money and you decided you want to use it for something else. We've had certain situations where maybe a camp team comes in and they need to go to a mining and bucking thing somewhere, and you decide you want to do that one-time allocation. We take that from your reserve fund. And so that's kind of a little kitty that's been building up over time. That's the difference between the allocations that you granted and the actual expenditures that were made by the
So I was under the understanding it had grown more than 17,000, but was I incorrect?
That's just what I was looking at, so it's sold at
Okay.
$17,000 is the increase in, so
Right,
I couldn't tell you the difference on the rest, but it's basically allocations that we're given that weren't expended.
got it. Okay.
Another thing to keep in mind, so your gap allocation is based on credit hours. So, what is it, $49.70 I think is our gap right now. Those increase with inflation every year, that's one of the increases that the board approves during that March, April timeframe. When we're giving, I kind of give you a guesstimate every year on what I think it's gonna be based on what we see for credit hour projections and whatnot. The thing to keep in mind is that as our enrollment is declining, credit hour production is declining, gap revenue is declining in total. But keep in mind, and so there's a little bit of history because all of you were not here when I started almost 5 years ago. We were in a little different financial situation at that point in time. And we did make a request, basically to everybody on campus, just because you have money, please don't think that means we want you to spend it. Because we had to take out a loan from the Board of Regents for $2.5 million. We needed the cash, and every cash revenue source that we had, we kind of needed to keep the cash in there if at all possible. And so at that point in time, we had really kind of come to you via Dr. Mann and said, you know, if you could just not spend all your reserve, that would be super. And you've done a really great job as an organization of being very fiscally responsible. And as a result, we do have that nice pot of money. And we have had the conversation, I think, about maybe increasing your gap by $1 because you wanted to allocate more dollars to soap funds and whatnot. I would say from my perspective, having been at the Board of Regents, if I looked at your cash reserve balance and I saw $800,000 sitting there, and you wanted to increase gap by another $1 to generate $56,000 more for next year, I would probably tell you that. Because you do have that nice cushion, and I called it a rainy day fund to Pat more than once, and you've got this rainy day fund. Well, I think we've kind of passed the torrential downpour and we're maybe in a bit of a drizzle or a trickle now, so you can be a little more free if you want to allocate some of those dollars. I wouldn't say allocate all of it, but I would say if $55,000 is what you think you need to fund your SOAP accounts and to fund these student organizations, that a $55,000 reduction of that reserve is not out of line. And that would be my suggestion, is to not necessarily increase your gap by that $1, but to utilize some of the reserves that you have in a responsible manner. I can think more. Yes, a lot of people do. But
Could you maybe go into like the specifics of gap, like the percentages of what is spent on what? Because that's what I'm kind of curious about, like what's actually going to soap, what's going to athletics, what's allocated where.
I almost feel like I must have you give me that question earlier so I could be prepared, but shockingly enough, I have that. So, we do a report every year. Of course, I printed it really small and getting old. So, we do a report every year. The last detailed information I have is from fiscal year 17. We just finished fiscal year 18 and we're in fiscal year 19, so it's a little bit out of whack, but $47.30 at that point in time was the total gap. Of that, per credit hour, you spent $4.53 on athletics, 53 cents on intramurals, 59 cents on the scheduling center. So does everybody know what the scheduling center is? What they do? They're here in Surbeck. They do the scheduling of conferences and meetings and those kinds of things. Student activities were $3.18. Student health and counseling services was $2.38. Student organizations, so basically your SOAP, was $3.14. The actual management of the Surbeck Center, which that includes the rest of the management of Surbeck Center, including utilities, custodial, those kinds of things, was $3.83. Veterans Resources was 38 cents. The Wellness Center was $3.97, and the facility improvements was $24.78. I should brought my glasses or printed it a little bit bigger. So again, when we built, when we did some work on the Survey Center and when we built the Wellness Center, we had specifically pledged GAP as a revenue source for the bond payments, the maintenance, and the operations of those facilities. So the big chunk of what's being spent here is facility improvements. It's those bond payments, it's the amount of money we need to put into our repair and replacement electrical wire account that I talked about. Is that 20% overage that we have to meet our bond covenants. So that's a big chunk of what your GAP dollars are going for, is the operations and improvement of those kinds of things. I printed this off right before we left too.
And I can also send out those documents.
Yeah, so I think we sent that out.
Can you first? Is that?
I was just gonna say, yeah, if we could send that out, that'd be great. Thanks.
Is there a breakdown of other residential schools that we can see of their GAF fund?
I could probably get it. I don't have it handy. We are no longer the highest gap in the system, so that's a plus. But they're also managed very differently. So while you have the control of the majority of the dollars that are gap generated, most other campuses are not in that same situation. So, and Pat and I have had this conversation as well, and I think Ezra and I have too, maybe Aaron. There are some administrative costs that are paid for through GAP. So your Survey Center, the Wellness Center, the health, the counseling kind of components, and even athletics, as shocking as that may seem, is really kind of an administrative function. So at other universities, because GAP is kind of a component of funding in, I'll use athletics as an example. Athletics comes with a price tag that's kind of set. Because we're Division II, because we're in the RMAC, there are certain criteria there. We have to have so many matches or meets or whatever, and you have to travel so many different places within the RMAC, and you exchange, I was having a conversation with Joel earlier about Dixie State was here, and now we've got to go there. And so these are things that are kind of locked in. And so we look at athletics as, in my office, in the finance office, as a whole piece of, a whole pie. And GAP is a component of it, but we have to fund the entire pie. And so what we do is, after you're done with your allocations, say you only want to fund 10% of the athletic pie, I have to come up with the other 90%. So if you were to decide at some point, I'm not funding any athletic pie, and I have to fund the rest of the athletic pie, what ends up happening is either we need to go to the board and increase tuition to cover the rest of the pie because I have these obligations, or we have to cut some other type of service that's being funded through that we would have been funding with that revenue source. So what some of the other universities have done is they've said, these administrative functions we have to fully fund. We're either going to fund it through GAP, we're going to fund it through tuition fees or whatever. So what they do is they pull the GAP that's going to go towards those administrative functions, and they then give the piece of GAP that's left, and in your situation, I think it's like $6.85 of the GAP. They give that back to the students, and they say, this is the portion that you get to allocate. And you get to allocate it to intramurals, and you get to allocate it to your soap funds, and you get to do whatever. So I can give you the breakdown of the other institutions and where those dollars are at, but I would tell you that the allocation process is very different. That they don't give that type of control to the students.
Other questions?
So I've been trying to think how I'm going to ask this, but I know that how can we differ investments that are made with donors' money versus with the money that we're paying tuition?
So if you're asking about donations from like the outside, that actually goes to the foundation. That doesn't come to me at all. So they're a separate, and actually I shouldn't say it just goes to the foundation, it could also sit with the Hard Rock Club. But those are separate 501c3s, those are nonprofits, so that when they're writing their check, they get a little receipt from the Hard Rock Club or the foundation, and they take the tax deduction for it. The way that any SOAP funding that is done through the foundation or any of your organization funding is done through an older kind of a grandfathered type system that I don't see and I don't have any control over. And the only funding that we actually typically get from the foundation or from the Hard Rock Club is in the form of scholarship dollars. So those dollars have been donated to those organizations. They've been identified with the students that are going to receive them and what funds are coming from, and so it's just a transfer of dollars from them to me. So that's not even just another color of money, that's money that's like foreign exchange. We've got a current exchange rate. So we don't control any of that. And they don't let me see it either, so.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you have more questions, heather.horny@sdsmt.edu. I'm in room 123 in the basement of O'Hara. If I'm not around, Dawn Miller works for me. She's just down the hall for me, and she's extremely helpful. She can look up information, dig up data, whatever you need. Let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have our promo video now. Did you want to? Okay. Hold on one second. I'm not sure how. Yeah, so what would you like? Get it? Everybody on the set? All right. Does everybody want to get up and like move towards?
Then you're gonna start one.
All right, so we're going to the next corner. Oh, yeah, you guys are
But I
going.
still want to give her. No, like it just we're like
Jacob Zach and Projector.
Because I know they're moving
Yeah.
that direction,
Sorry.
so I'm just gonna be
Jake,
illuminating.
do we want to do it against, I was gonna say we could, roll up the,
Oh, yeah.
Like, sure. No, very good.
Come on, Alexia. Let's go. You don't have to.
just have your face.
That's fine. Just like zoom in on your face.
Jake, you gotta lay down on the floor.
I'm talking? But you're the president. I vote Scotty. Who said that? Second.
Whatever it is, let's just do
Who was it? Well, that was sassy.
Welcome back to our students.
Welcome back, Dr. Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write it down. Well, I can't read it.
Just don't like that.
Don't like it. I'll take back my note cards.
Need a teleprompter.
I'm really nervous.
You can do it a couple times.
Guys ready? Yep.
Welcome back, Dr. Rankin from the Student Senate Association.
So good.
I'm close. Yeah,
Well, at the end, There you go.
Yeah, do like a, everybody
Okay.
yes.
What do we say?
All right, so after she says it, we'll all say welcome and then like clap or cheer.
Okay.
Cheer.
Do
Let's
something
cheer.
exciting.
Yeah, we don't want to just be, yeah.
Okay. Welcome back, Dr. Rankin from the Student Association Senate.
Welcome back. 3. That was good.
That was good, yeah.
All right.
That's all we
Maybe
need.
we should just clap at
I mean,
the
I-
All right.
That's not gonna
He's
happen.
out. He's like, I'm out.
Just one more, just-
One more.
One more. The new shirts are good.
Let's just clap at it.
Yeah.
It says
It got
say
really,
clap.
it got really awful. Yeah, how long? We're really uncomfortable now. So
Why
I didn't know what to do.
We're
Just
just clapping.
for welcome. Ooh, or just no welcome.
Yeah, one big clap.
3, 5.
Let's just do clapping right after.
Cool.
Yeah. Just clap after it.
Okay, cool. All right,
Just
just
clap.
clap.
Welcome back, Dr. Rankin from the Student Association Senate.
Perfect.
Very
Nice.
nice. Do you want your picture while you're all together too?
Yes, we do.
Okay, with that we are.
He's just trying to Photoshop it. Yeah. Well, we need to like that we sit over there.
Because that's like where they all
I
start.
might want to do that one. Sort of we're open venue.
No,
Okay.
yeah. Is anything in the road that we need to move? Or you good? Like the screen's not.
There's a big crowd over here, kind of.
Filter that.
Yeah, after the second one, it got really awkward. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Put the
walk
sound.
into the bottom.
Yeah, that's all.
There we go.
Will you
Everybody move down.
Yeah. Please do not trip on this cord. There's a cord here.
That's your, finance officer.
Watch the cord. I'm sorry, I didn't realize the cord.
We have you, yep, and then the two next to you in the front also.
Let's do it. Yes. I think you've got a plane going there.
on your knees?
Inappropriate.
Yeah.
What we do with our hands?
All right, ready? Yep. Here we go.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's go. Everybody.
Thank you.
No, it's okay, we've got time. Okay, everybody, we've got Winston, we got Winston Pinto coming in to talk. He's a candidate for graduate senator, so he's gonna introduce himself and talk a little bit about why he wants to join Senate.
Thank you, Jacob. Hello, everyone. My name is Winston Pinto. I just joined this fall semester. I'm a graduate student in engineering management. I was really interested in the graduate student Senate position because I would say I would like to represent the graduate student body as a whole and voice their concerns and issues. And I'm also part of the Graduate Student Society, and we have our meetings at the Graduate Education Department at the chemistry building. And I would that give me an opportunity to discuss various issues and concerns with them. And, yeah.
Questions?
Or could you tell us just a little bit about, like, you know, your major, what your faculty are outside of graduate center?
Okay, so I'm doing a course in engineering management in the IE department, and we can have I have a lot of campus. I got 3 classes Monday through Wednesday, 6 to 9 p.m. So the rest of the week I'm pretty much free and take responsibility.
would you be able to talk a little bit about what you know about Senate, like what we do?
Well, I had some information from Jake himself in the morning, and about some the different committees and different committees related to Constitution, student affairs, and government relations, and also I also came to know about GAP and the issues that the graduate students had with GAP, because I feel most of them don't. They have their own offices in the department, and they don't use most of the facilities here at the survey center. So,
And then I guess the follow-up, how would you plan to sort of use the new Senate to help the grad students? Do you have any of those complaints?
well, I would say I haven't had a chance yet to listen have a discussion with the graduate students about it, and since they've been trying to directly contact you through the position box. So I would come in that position.
Any questions?
Did you say your class at 6 on Wednesday? Like, Wednesday 6 to 9?
Yes, but I would say it's not a constriction for me, because those classes are also online courses. So
Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we've got,
Is incoming. Bretman?
no, okay, so that was,
Okay,
that was one guy, yeah. So moving on to unfinished business, we've got resolution 18F001 OX.
Have to read something?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, we got, Oakville Russell Resolution Number 18F001, 19 September 2018. And it's the same thing from last week. This is the second week, so
So did you have any discussion on the resolution? So,
No, just a reminder that this is the chemical engineering honor society for those of you who maybe missed the presentation.
So yeah, as I see this club doesn't overlap anything else, I would move to approve.
there's been a motion to approve resolution 18F001 by Senator Brody, seconded by Senator Hall. Any discussion on the motion?
Did you have a question? No, I was just seconding.
Okay.
Alright, seeing none, we'll move on to a roll call vote.
Wow. I'm listening.
Yes,
Wow. Okay, wow.
You wanna talk about voting?
I heard it.
Yeah. So if you would like to approve the resolution, you vote by saying aye, or if you don't, you say nay. Or
You can also
abstain.
abstain.
You can also abstain, which means the vote is.
Or you can pass.
Or you can pass and come back and say aye, nay, or abstain at the end.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dolly.
Aye.
Duglin.
Aye.
Rothy.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Holm.
Aye.
Camron.
Aye.
Kiefer. Klein Saucer. Knott.
Aye.
Foxley Hodgson.
Aye.
Rogers.
Aye.
Roder.
Aye.
Tellinghausen.
Aye.
Pissarro.
Aye.
Thielen.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Wah.
Aye.
Neville.
Aye.
Penning.
Aye.
Sharma.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Alright, resolution passes. Moving on to gadgets. New business, we've got resolution 18F004, Rocker Car Club Supplemental. Wow. Senator Campbell.
Well, we'll wait. I'll.
Oberkurler Russell, resolution number 18F004 from the 26th of September 2018, originated by the Finance Committee and presented by myself. Whereas the Rocker Car Club has approached the Finance Committee with a supplemental request, and whereas the appropriate paperwork has been filed with the Finance Committee, and whereas the Finance Committee has deemed $300 as an appropriate amount to allocate to the organization, and noting the Rocker Car Club was a new club last year and could not apply for general SOAP funding, and therefore be it resolved by a majority vote of the Student Senate and the signature of the Student Association President that $300 be allocated to the SOAP Reverted Funds Account 4SA003 to Rocker Car Club.
Any discussion on the resolution? Senator Saab?
So I know that they asked for 625, like what was it?
Okay, so they asked for 625. We could not allocate funds for T-shirts that the members would keep. We could not allocate funds for they wanted what's called plastic wrap for their cars, and we cannot fund that because that would sell their personal cars. And I think the third thing we couldn't fund was prizes for their car show that they wanted to host.
So yeah, they had $625 in their budget. They're asking for $500 because they had $125 of projected fundraising. We couldn't do the awards because they'd be giving them away, and according to the SOAP Constitution, we cannot give away things that are purchased with GAF money like that. The T-shirts were going to be personal, so we couldn't fund those. And then they wanted money for decals, which were also personal, and so we were unable to fund those because you cannot spend SOAP money in a way that for personal things.
Senator Bell?
Has Rocker Club received any type of funding for this project?
Yeah, you have a comment? No.
Is there a reason this isn't new venture funding?
So last spring, you might recall that we changed our SOAP constitution, and so the new venture funding is now under supplemental funding.
Okay.
But if you have applied for SOAP funding in the last 2 years, I think it is, you can get up to $750 between 2 fiscal years, and so that's essentially our new venture funding now.
Senator Wong?
So what was in their budget that we could fund that they were requesting?
So they wanted tools for basic maintenance, which would stay with the club, and then they wanted other car products. And when I asked them what they were using them for, they said for demonstrations for the club. And since that would be for all of the members to use and see, we deemed that was an appropriate use for it.
Senator Saab?
This is the first time they're asking for funding, you think, and they're in this club, you think those $300 are good for them to start, or is that too little?
For what they were asking, I mean, from what they gave us, I feel like it's an appropriate amount considering we have to follow the SOAP constitution, so.
But they apply for SOAP this year.
Okay.
Senator Saab?
Point of personal
Senator
No.
Any further discussion on resolution 18F004? Alright, we'll see you next week. Moving on, we got resolution 18F005, dress code.
You asked for it. Oberkurler Russell, resolution number 18F006, originated on the 26th of September 2018, originated by myself and CFO Schumann, presented by myself. Whereas the Student Association represents the student body within the administration of the school, and whereas the Student Association exemplifies professionalism for our constituents, and noting that we have been less than casually dressed at prior meetings, and noting that newly elected and appointed senators do not have polos yet, noting that this resolution would supersede the previous resolution regarding the dress code, and therefore be resolved by a majority vote of the Student Association Senate and the signature of the Student Association President, that the student association members be required to dress at a minimum of business casual attire to make space for description, and that the student association purchase student association polos for all senators with secretary. There's like 10 associations.
I was just gonna say, that's, wow.
This is basically the same resolution as previously passed. After discussions with CFO Schumann and a couple of other you guys, the inclusion would allow nice athletic shoes as acceptable, but still encourage to wear dress shoes, same for men. And then the official Senate polo is preferred to any other polo.
Senator Guthrie.
Would we be wearing these all day then? Like business casual all day? Is that the resolution or is that?
It's not in the resolution.
Okay.
Senator Holmes.
As much as I appreciate representing Senate, I just personally, I have construction materials right before this, and I don't particularly want to be wearing a Senate polo to pour concrete and then come and have concrete on my polo.
I think a good, I don't know if this is allowed to suggest, I think a good suggestion to that is at the senator's discretion, if they can wear it all day, but if not, that's not required.
Would you like to add that to the?
Is it not a friendly amendment or?
Well, no, it wouldn't be friendly then. But I don't know, I mean, do you guys think that needs to be in the resolution? Or would it be like, guys?
Yeah, I think because, I think the absence of it is actually the message of it. So it doesn't say, so we don't have to do it.
How about this? Please represent Senate, wear your polos all day. We won't form this.
I think that's sufficient.
You think that's what?
I think that's sufficient.
Sorry, Senator West.
Does this apply to all Senate gatherings else as well as other, I guess, committee meetings, such as just for the pre-meeting?
Just
Mostly because it says, I believe, prior meetings.
This might be a little off on the road discussion, but when are we gonna be getting the polos ordered for the new senators from this last year as well?
So I've ordered them today.
Okay.
I would say that if we're holding an open forum, or if we're set up on campus, maybe in the quad or in CERMBEC, we should probably hold to these guidelines. Not exactly like staying in Senate polos all day, but like if we're there representing Senate to the students, we should be presenting.
Sure. So I agree. Realistically, this shouldn't be necessary, right? Like you guys are representing Senate. This is also a formality so that we have an established dress code. We should be taking care of this. I don't think that it's, if it's on paper, it shouldn't really affect whether or not you're going to do it. Ideally, you should just do it. That would be my choice. I'd come in here with a t-shirt on too.
further discussion on the resolution.
So the last line, that says that student association will purchase the, we won't charge them for below.
No, we will be charging half for new members, and if you want to get a new polo and you already have one, then you don't have to pay full price.
Right. You still purchase them, they just reimburse you.
Right. Could somebody also friendly amend that to 18F005?
Oh, because it was presented before.
So on it, it says all senators, but you say you were only purchasing it for the new ones. Should that be changed?
It's the same polo that we've gotten in the past couple of years, so you still have they should still have their other ones, so just give me the ones in terms of getting them a polo.
Okay.
So it's the same polo.
If you guys would like to clarify, since they all did.
So he was just saying that the last
sentence, how I read it is that student association will pay for the polos and we're not gonna get reimbursed, just how I read it.
Again, regardless, Senate purchases them. That's just a deal that new senators pay half. You're still spending the money out of the budget that we allocated. So to me, you're still purchasing them.
Do you think it would hurt to have that in there? That they pay half?
Whatever you get. That's why you're supposed to come to me.
I didn't hear that.
I would say that because this is pertaining to the dress code and not the process of purchasing these t-shirts or these polos, it doesn't really matter.
And as a reminder, should not be a a long discussion on this resolution. This is a dress code. If the wording is poor, you can come talk to me, we can change it. We don't need to pass it next week, it's not high urgency, but it's just something that needs to be done. If you have changes, come talk to me, and then if we have substantial changes, we'll wait another week. How does that sound? Anybody have a problem with that?
Further discussion? Alright, seeing none, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we've got resolution 18.006, graduate senator appointment. Sorry. Alright, we'll go to resolution number 18.006, 26th of September 2018, originated by myself and Vice President Russell, presented by myself, whereas the Student Association Constitution states that the Student Association Senate President shall appoint a graduate senator who is confirmed by the Student Association Senate, and whereas Mr. Pinto has been found as Senate President and Vice President to be a worthy candidate to represent the graduate students of SU Hines, and noting that Mr. Pinto has conducted an interview with the Senate President, and noting that Mr. Pinto has presented himself to the Senate to show his qualifications, and noting that Mr. Pinto will be placed on the Governmental Relations Committee upon appointment, and therefore be it resolved by a majority vote of the Student Senate and the signature of the Student Association President that Mr. Pinto be affirmed to the position of graduate senator for the remainder of the term. I copied it from the International Senate resolution from last year. Alright.
Any discussion on resolution 18F006, Senator Groves?
So I'm assuming that Mr. Pinto is the only student that applied for this position. How long was the opening? How long was it open for?
Since last spring.
Okay.
We also, we haven't had a graduate Senator Sean, but.
And then when did he apply before we submitted this resolution?
Last year. Late last year.
Any further discussion? We'll see you next week.
Moving on, we've got open discussion.
So this has been, I shouldn't have looked at the board. Something I've been thinking about, and I kind of discussed it with some people. I know I've seen it from the men's perspective. Who uses the rec locker rooms up at the King Center? Especially women, I kind of want to know because I obviously don't go in those. Yeah, do you guys use the showers in there? No?
Yeah.
Are they, like which ones, upstairs or down? Downstairs? What's the like temperature control on that? Like, yeah. Yeah.
No, there's not one.
It was so hot, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have the same issue.
So hot, it burned me. Get like 30 seconds of like save time and then, yeah.
Okay, I wondered if it was the same, because that's the same for the men's recreational locker room downstairs, and I know upstairs isn't that much better in terms of getting it to a comfortable level. This has just been something I was looking into a little bit. What? Oh, no.
I mean,
I've actually
heat or
noticed
water
this as well.
Heat.
Yeah.
Well, when you, the pressure is a little bit higher downstairs, and which isn't that noticeable until it's really hot. So, this was just something I was looking into, so I can maybe dig into it a little more and see what the reasonings behind that may be. I was just a little concerned because of how new the facility is, as to what our water heating and control system is like for that. So
we could also talk to facilities about that.
Yeah.
Jeremy Roberts or
okay.
that maybe wants to start.
There's a facilities email, SDSMT facilities or
Okay.
whatever. It's, so I just encourage you to send it there.
All right.
And you could copy Joel Lucan, so he's aware and all this stuff.
What else we got for discussion?
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, we took an informal vote in Senate to pursue a GAF increase of $1. And we heard today from Heather Forney, and she gave her opinion on that, which was also my opinion in the beginning, in that we have a reserve fund, and we should use that before we make the students pay more, especially considering how big it is. And I was wondering if after her presentation, the attitude towards raising the GAF had changed in the student senate body.
So, her opinion about, she said that if she was a board of regents member, that she wouldn't approve it just because we have that much sitting in reserve, which was news to me. She's never expressed that to me before. And I get what Senator Dyke's saying about, like, we have it, so why don't we use it, but we also don't want to use all of it. So the point of having a reserve is to have money in there. And then what I took from the vote that the Senate had was just to explore the possibility of raising the gap, not like set in stone, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to try to do. It's more of just to kind of, I guess, feel it out, like among students, would students support it, kind of how difficult would it be, what would the impact be of that, and so that's kind of what I took from it, but maybe that was incorrect.
Senator Campbell?
No, I totally agree that I think we were very clear that we voted in support of looking at all of our options. I don't think the Senate has by any means said that we formally or informally agree with it raising it.
Yeah, I don't have my laptop here to look at the minutes, but I'm pretty sure that we voted on moving forward on surveying the students, right? And that hasn't been done yet. So are we still going to do that, CFO Schumann?
The finance committee will have to discuss that in the next meeting at Monday at 4. So if there are any very strong opinions on that and you'd like to present your case for or against it, please show up Monday at 4. Otherwise, you may email me and we will work with you to find a separate
I'd like to point out Senator Campbell did not ask for point of personal privilege. Put that in the minutes. Back to the pertinent conversation. So what I would like to point out though is Heather Forney has not told me either that the Board of Regents would disapprove the GAF increase. This was news to me. I was very surprised to hear her say that. With that new knowledge, I have changed my position on even surveying the students, and I'm not sure if other senators would have changed their opinions as well. In fact, as a finance member, it means that we would go through this whole process of surveying the students only to not even push forward.
It's what?
So what I would like to say is the Senate interested in sort of stopping this process now and not even surveying the students?
Could we potentially still survey the students and just for in the future, if we do decide to go through the reserve fund and suddenly the reserve fund gets a little bit low, just to see if they would potentially be okay with an increase down the line, basically.
So
Since it was like an informal vote kind of thing, do we have to vote again to like take the vote back in
No,
or
not
can
at
we
all.
just
This is
be like
just an open discussion.
new
This
finance,
is just an open discussion.
like next week the finance committee might have a different report and be like, this isn't what's gonna happen. If somebody feels strongly about it, then we can discuss it.
Side note for new senators, do not let Robert's Rules of Order hinder your discussion. If you wanna say something, raise your hand, I'll call on you and say it. If it's way out of line, then we'll fix it then. We want people to talk and we want voices heard. Senator Rhodes.
So I was gonna say, so if we decide we're gonna have to survey the students or anything, would we still consider just increasing the gap, say, with our reserve account then? Like, would we still plan on doing something like that?
Do you mean increasing SIL funds with reserve?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's next?
I think in terms of surveying the students now, let's see the potential feel of what it's gonna be for future students, I think that would be a waste of our time. It's gonna be, if we decide to raise the, or try to raise the gap fund in 5 years, well, the students that are here right now that are giving that opinion, they won't even be students anymore, and those new students are gonna have a different say in where their money is going.
Is there also a follow-up? Could Senator Rhodes ask a question? Is this follow-up?
No, it's another question.
I think so. I think we should, again, pursue all our options. So.
Okay, so now.
She might have given a follow-up.
I was just gonna say, like, the finance committee will discuss this in our next meeting. like, I just don't wanna, like, voice, like, an opinion without, like, all of us meeting and talking about the different avenues that we can pursue as far as a committee.
Any question?
Okay. If we were to, not do a raising gap, but sit with our reserve fund, what I got from Heather was they really asked us to bulk up our reserves because of the financial position the school itself was in, as a whole was in, and they're kind of past that now. So if we choose to dig into the reserves a little more instead of a gap increase, is there a certain level we want to have that reserves where we don't drop below that? Because that's a thought I'm having. If we slowly kind of dip down, like we have all these funds, let's use them, but we just for in case of an emergency, we don't want to go below this level.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, the reserves have been the highest they've ever been.
Yeah, and that's, I know that.
There is no defined limit in terms of, it would only be a self-imposed limit.
And that wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify a comment made by Senator Garcia earlier. It was not a motion to survey students. It was a motion specifically if senators are in favor of pursuing an increase to student gap. So that's not something that we need to address. We do not need to move forward with surveying students nor rescind that motion.
Perfect.
I was just gonna say, since CFO Schuman has mentioned twice that finance committee is moving forward, can we limit our discussion, since it sounds like finance needs to discuss it no matter what, 5 minutes?
Senator nominations to a discussion for 5 minutes. Seconded by Senator Rogers. All those in favor of the motion, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, it is 6:05. Motion or discussion will end at 6:10.
Just for the freshman senators, do you want to remind everybody how much money is in the gap right now, the gap reserve?
It's about $900,000. You could, Heather Boyd could give me an actual number just because the account does have some money that's still waiting to be taken out of it, but it's about
Senator Kiefer, what was the original intent of increasing the $5? Like, what was the end goal?
The end plan was to have more money go to SOAP, so then organizations could benefit by either sending more students to conferences or less expense for students to go to conferences or competitions. Because I feel like a lot of organizations really thrive if, and then more members would participate if the price to go to these things was a little lower and that kind of thing.
I just wrote down that she threw out 800,000 when she was speaking, just as something that she referenced.
How about we get the final number and send it?
Just that it's
I'd say I met with her like 2 or 3 weeks ago. She gave me, it was like 1.2 million, but then she's like just over 200,000, and like balance is like a against the account, and so I said just about 900,000. She confirmed it for the account. So, I mean, I can ask her again. That's not a problem.
I wrote down that number when she said it.
Senator Hall, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess just a quick point. If we're having so much so that isn't being used and is going back to our reserve fund, what is the point of increasing our SOAP allocations?
So when we go through the gap, or when we go through SOAP every year, we do look at what organizations have spent their money and what percent they've spent or haven't spent, and so then we kind of take some of that into consideration. Granted, there are extenuating circumstances with officer turnover and stuff, and so we kind of look at that in our allocations to those organizations. But I feel like the organizations that do spend their money would benefit greatly from some more allocation.
Yeah, so
Follow up?
yeah. So I guess in respect to that though, I think that's an allocation problem. I don't think that's a amount of money problem, because we're still having money that goes back to our account and in insignificant portions. So right, like making sure that we're allocating enough of the budget that is being spent to the proper places, and like I don't see really the need.
Just a point that doesn't get reallocated, doesn't get as fun.
Right. What I'm saying is that it's not being spent. Like, why increase SOAP when it's not all being spent?
Senator Campbell first.
I disagree with that mentality. I think our finance committee does a really good job of looking at what has been done. They spend a lot of time poring over. I think taking the attitude that if an organization doesn't spend 100% of the budget, they're doing something wrong. You can budget, but you can't plan for the future exactly. And I think that having that mentality is exactly what leads to people overestimating their budgets or spending money just to spend money, so that the next year we don't have to, they don't have to be like, oh, well, I didn't spend this money, because like, honestly, if we found that their allocations were fitting, the finance committee did that, and then they happen to not spend all the money, I don't think that should necessarily, if it's a significant amount of money and it happens continually, then that's an issue. But I don't think that holding an organization liable for being fiscally responsible potentially with their money, I guess that's not an attitude that I think is necessarily the right one for us to share with students.
Yeah, the unspent money is a very expected part of the budgeting process, and it actually, we try to match it very closely to our supplemental money that we spend. And so it actually does get spent in the grand scheme of things. It's just shifted to the ones that apply for supplemental funding.
Please know we've got about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, so I think that's fair, and I'm not promoting necessarily that mentality that we would extremely punish organizations that do not spend their full budget. I'm saying that our current budget and the things that come back to us doesn't prove a need for a gap increase on every student.
All right, any discussion? So it's not really open discussion.
The water filter is on red, we didn't go to that.
That again would be a facilities.
Alright.
It's actually been something for like since last semester.
I'll go to some facilities.
The freshmen senators will find out what committees we want to do.
Yes, it's actually.
Has anyone made any advancements getting information about that train that goes on every night? About that?
So that's going to be in your report, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, because it's only really loud.
So I know we're going to talk about it, and you'll just get it because I'm a computer man. But train horns save lives. So I understand how annoying it can be, and I know we'll talk about it. But so we can save that discussion for later. But I'm a grumpy old man, so I just want
I timed the train horn last night. 22 seconds at one point. I feel like that is slightly excessive. I think he was just really just slowing it down.
I think that's especially important when it's especially like 3 o'clock in the morning. You're like, I've got an exam tomorrow, I'm going to kill you. Yeah.
Because yeah, you always have to remember the train is loudest when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah. Or take an exam.
Okay, so this is, like a freshman question probably, but, so I signed up for like my Senate hours on Friday. Well, one Friday, I'm going back to Colorado with people who want to leave earlier than my Senate hours. What's the procedure, like, if you're gonna like miss office hours?
So for office hours in general, it's, Grant and I can't like police it all the time. And so it's kind of on an honor system. So if you're gonna miss, your office hours on Friday, just say come in on Tuesday. Whatever
Make sure you get your
Yeah, we just really want senators there most of the time. And try coming in where there's not many other people there, just so that if students wanna come in and say something, talk, then there's somebody there.
Do we need to be dressed up for some hours?
Yep. Alright. Any further points for open discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to CFO's report.
Alright, so Rocker Park Club turned in their supplemental request this week, which we saw today. And then we also, Heather Forney came in today and spoke about the diversity finances. Given the new information that we have, the finance committee will be meeting about the latter half of my report. So I'd still would like to work with student affairs about an open forum regarding university finances, regardless of how like gap and stuff goes. So otherwise, that's about it. End of the report.
Questions for CFO's report? Alright, seeing none, we'll move on to VP's report.
So the donations from for Professor Montoya has got to $1,050. So that was just in a week and a half, just about. So it's a lot. Pretty good. The student senate polls were ordered today, so they should be coming in hopefully for next meeting. Good job for the new senators filling out the filling out the info sheet and the office hours. You just have to fill out the info sheet, and then I'll be sending it to you too. But just the office is going to get rearranged and cleaned real soon. We're going to rearrange it and stuff like that, and we'll work with facilities on that.
May I ask how/why you're rearranging the office? As this was like a whole ordeal like 2 years ago, so I'm just trying to understand.
Can I ask what the ordeal was?
Yes. Okay. So as some of you, man, a lot of you guys probably more will remember the grumpy old man. The desks used to be against the back wall where the whiteboard is, and then like the whiteboard is on the side wall. The whole point was that we could leave things on the whiteboard that may relate to students, and we were trying to create a more open environment for students to come in. Like we had a lot of discussions, kind of like the dress code, a lot of discussions about that. And so I'm just curious as to what the rationale is. If it's just to like move things, and it was also like a lot of work. Like those cabinets are heavy, but I mean,
Well, to move things around, get something new going in there, new look, but also an opportunity to clean it as well. Really do it as more deep clean. So it is dirty in there.
Any other questions for Vice President?
How, do you have a blueprint of how you're gonna rearrange it?
We have a little idea of what we're thinking, so we can draw. Yes.
Is this just like a presidential decision, or the senators get to offer their feedback?
I'm gonna say that it's just a presidential decision.
But like that's fine. I would. My reasoning is that this is supposed to be like the whole student senate office, and so I'm not like if that's what you guys want to do. Like seriously, that's totally up to you guys. But I know when we had this whole discussion, the whole reason it became a whole discussion is because it was a whole Senate office, and we wanted to have a discussion about how the whole Senate wanted to have it set up. And I really, like, when I mean that, that's fine, I mean, like, really, that's totally fine. But I'm just trying to share my opinion. I apologize for being me.
Yeah, just as a note, like I was here when we rearranged it last time, and it was brought to a vote on the proposed layout. So.
Motion.
I'm sorry.
2 minutes? Alright, motion to continue discussion to 2 minutes, made by Senator Penick, seconded by Senator Randall. All in favor of the motion, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
This is a question for senators that were here. Who's president?
It was PD. Further discussion on the room. Okay, any other questions for Vice President Russell?
So to go on, the Board of Regents and the Student Federation will be meeting here Tuesday next week, October 2nd. Jake will talk more about that. And then Jake will be singing for me on the e-board meeting this week. I have an exam that I have to make up from last week, and I've made the appropriate calls for who's going to sit in the club. Sorry about last time. I was on the bus.
Any other questions for Vice President Russell?
Head report.
Alright, seeing none, we'll move on to my report. So, first off, Student Federation update. We had a meeting last Friday in Pier, and Senator Roeder also attended. The main topics of the meeting were the Board of Regents' budget requests and the free speech policies. So for the budget, the main things that were discussed were the Dakota Promise needs-based scholarships, and this requires the universities, sorry, disregard that for a second, that's going to be later in my report. So the Dakota Promise needs-based scholarships, this requires the universities to fundraise 50% of whatever the state allocates towards toward the universities for this program. Dr. Rankin, which we met with, me, Grant, and Kate met with last week, said that he is on board with this. The second main thing was the salary competitiveness, and this gives about a 1.5% increase over the state employee salary for professors. So for the free speech documents, which I sent out to everybody, and I hope you had a chance to look over them, the main one was, I can't remember the number of it, just the free speech policy that pretty much all of it was in red because they're constructing it right now. Nationally, this has been an issue. It kind of started with the Charlottesville riots, and so everybody, pretty much every state has been looking at this, and we have legislators have indicated that there's going to be more legislation about this during this upcoming legislative session. And so it's kind of a preemptive attack on as far as getting a policy in force so that we, in the future, don't have to rearrange things, or if there is a circumstance that happens that where it's kind of a gray area, it's already defined now. So that was kind of one of the questions that was brought up, is why do we keep discussing this if none of the South Dakota universities seem to be having a major issue? And that's just because we're trying to essentially cover it before it happens. So that was one of the main things. And also the use of ITS policy, where religious orgs, so with the new wording of this, religious organizations are not allowed to, like, say, send out an email to the entire school saying that they have an event going on if it's towards this, like I think the wording is sectarian movement. So essentially, this limits as far as if they were to have a meeting or a religious event, they can't advertise for that. Dakota State brought that up as that seems kind of, I can't remember the wording. Perhaps Senator Roeder, do you remember that discussion a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's been that as a concern, like, where do you, like, let's say a religious organization wants to
so how would this affect MindSync, right? Like MindSync is utilized to send things out to the whole student body, so no longer an org on MindSync is allowed to do that, or?
That's correct. It goes through. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we can clarify it as well, but the ITS, I mean, everything that we have set up is paid for by student dollars, and so it's essentially eliminating the sectarian movements within those programs, and so Senator Wright.
Well, those organizations can hold activities that aren't sectarian, so, I mean, if they wanted to do a fundraiser or, you know, something like that, they would still be able to use MindSync and Mind's email to contact students.
But I would imagine the Board of Regents provides no further clarification as to what sectarian means, correct? Okay, and is this going to be, this is presented at the October meeting?
And I believe it will be one of the discussion points. We're allowed to make, and that's another thing.
Recommendation.
Yes, and on an email that I sent you, I believe I said November 10th is the date that we can submit comments, and so this is something that you should talk to your constituents about, especially if they are going to be affected by these policies. And so that's our purpose, right? And so talk to your constituents and figure out what they're thinking, and that's what we can relay to the Board of Regents.
So obviously you've just seen this confused look on my face for the last 10 minutes as we've been talking about this of where do we draw that line and those kinds of things. So with regards to emails, obviously that we are sending out that we will want clarification on is really the weekly what's up. And so how do we define that? So if organizations, any of those organizations are just wanting to put in what they would be considering their meeting time. So let's use InterVarsity for example, that their meeting time is Thursday, whatever, and the SLC lower level. That email technically is sent out through the student list. And so that's again where we're going to want to clarify how that's being sent out. And with regards to those organizations, that's usually that only piece that we're sending specific events out necessarily. So as you're talking to constituents and we're getting some further clarification of what that really looks like, what is considered an event, and keeping it equal amongst all of our student organizations at the same time. So I think we just need some more clarification on that.
I guess further questions about that before I move on.
Just a general poll on it in a way. Has anybody heard any constituent ever say that they have a problem with the way it is done currently?
I was going to say, I think the only reason for the change is just alignment with the South Dakota state legislative policies. I don't think it's necessarily something most people felt they needed to be changed. I think it's just entirely state legislative that any publicly funded, I guess, groups or really anything things that run towards secretarial events or for advertising specific political campaigns. I think that's the whole reason for this change.
So it's being changed to that, or that's what it currently is, and we're going to change ours to model that?
It's being changed.
So could our feedback to it be, we are okay with the way it is? Could that just be our answer?
You're allowed to say anything.
That's just what I'm saying to everybody is can we think about that too?
Well, I think one of our comments should be that they should define sectarian.
Yes.
Just point of information, it says sectarian, here, let me read it, wait. I just had it. Benefiting any sectarian or religious society or institution. So it does say religious society or institution in there. And then it references in violation of Article 6, Ordinance 3 and stuff like that.
Okay, so any further questions about that? So the Board of Regents meeting is going to be next year on campus, the 2nd to the 4th, and we're going to have a student federation meeting on Tuesday night. believe that's going to start at 6 p.m. I'll be sending out like a meeting invite to all of you, and I encourage as many of you to attend as possible, because this is where we get to interface with some of the other student governments around the state. So for all you senators that don't know so far, the Student Federation is comprised of the president and the vice president of all the student senates across South Dakota that are public universities that serve or that are affected by South Dakota Board of Regents policies. So that's going to be next week, and I'm not sure what the turnout is going to be in person, but essentially all. So more info on that to come. Yes, it kind of depends on discussion. Probably I would say that would be fine. Okay, cool. So now, so the inauguration for President Rankin, the formal inauguration, which is kind of why we've had this video that's going to be aired sometime in there, I believe, is going to be next Thursday at 3. Next Thursday at 3 p.m. in the McCloy room.
In the
It's
theater.
going to be in the theater.
Yeah.
Okay. In the theater of the Civic Center. So that would be great to have a big student senate presence there as well, if you can make it, labs or class, because support our new president.
Could you put the details on that, on the calendar?
I do right now. Okay, so can you hold on? Yes, first. I can also go up there.
Got it.
Got it? Okay. So, you've all been wondering about how the Neon Trees concert, and it's kind of fitting because we had a finance discussion today. So, this is a document outlining the costs for the Civic Center that we accrued. So, right up here is the gross ticket sales for $14,000 after deductions. We had a net ticket sales of $12,000, and from all of the expenses, from the building charges all the way down to labor, equipment, and other charges. If you scroll down, what we did was we took whatever we earned from ticket sales and then put that straight towards the charges for all of everything that we had from the Civic Center. And then the leftover amount was $463 that we owed to the Civic Center. And further saying there was some discrepancies as far as when they were going through the budget. Civic Center ate the cost, so we didn't have to pay $463. So that's cool. So that was left over with no money that we owed to the Civic Center. So all of the money that was deducted was from the usage of activities.
I think it's far away.
Okay, so everything else that, or all the other costs that we had, coming out of that $170,000 are listed here. So if you look at the far right, up at the top, that's the remaining budget is a little under $44,000. So, I mean, I'm not going to read through all those, but if you have questions about how any of that part of it, you're free to ask now. And while you're looking over that, I'll tell you as well. The concept we met last week, what we're going to be doing is sending out a survey to students about how they felt about this year, where they want to go in the future, and gauge as far as what kind of entertainment we want to bring on campus. We were sad that there was not as much interest as we wanted from this. The reason that for everybody that didn't know this, there was a survey sent out last fall by myself about whether or not, or it was just a random survey asking if a concert would be a good idea on campus, what genres they would like, what price range, just to kind of gauge the interest. And in about 24 hours, I had over 600 responses, and we matched our ticket sales to that survey. So between $20 and $40 is what, about 60% of that survey said is what students would pay and then we fit it in with genre, pop rock alternative. We threw out some big names in the survey. I think that was one of our, not mistakes, but people were expecting a much bigger name, and so I think name recognition is one of the things that we're looking at. So, but at the same time, name recognition like Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift, as Ed Davidson pointed out many times, was in the like $1 to $1.5 million range, and obviously not feasible out of our student fund, especially if you don't want to drain it on in one go. This was what we thought was reasonable with $170,000, and for those of you that were there, I think it was, I thought it was an awesome show. It was sad that we didn't have more people. Total was 506 people that showed up for the concert. And I don't know the specific number of students we were able to track that with how the ticketing was set up, but my guess would be around 140-ish. As far as
maybe more. It's all like per report, so that we can see kind of the breakdown.
Okay. And so, with that, the plan for this concert really, which is within happening, is to be moving forward with this $44,000, survey the students, figure out what they want, whether that be a comedy show, some other sort of entertainment, or another concert. And you know, do we want to give this another go? We actually did have interest from the community, potential partner that could offer cash as well, and so that's exciting because it was something that we knew we wanted to get off the ground right away. And so if we could get outside help as well, I mean, nobody's going to say no to money, right? So, do you all have any questions about this, about the concert in general, the reserve fund allocation process that we went through to get there? I guess anything at all.
Just to clarify the data that's up there, the remaining budget is after subtracting all the costs?
Yes.
Okay.
After all of this, and then, yeah, the civic center we about 13%.
So yeah, just to clarify, so we made $12,000 back on an event that cost $127,000.
The cost for, I'm sorry, say that.
Yeah, because I was looking at numbers. I didn't realize it was quite that bad. We made $12,000 back on an event that cost $127,000.
Yes, we did.
So you mentioned the outside interest would be interested in funding. I know it sounds like it's going to be out. Do you know how much they'd be willing to commit, roughly, or?
And definitely, no substantial figures. They're saying about half. Okay. But that could be potentially from artist class, which artist class was $70,000.
I would just like to say that, like, I know it didn't go as well as we hoped, but I think it was a good idea, and I think we should pursue the idea of providing something like this for the student body again. As you were saying, maybe a different avenue, genre, different setting, maybe we do it on campus so it costs less, something like that. Either way, I think it's a really good idea. I'm glad we did it.
So I'm gonna, just some other pieces that I've shared with Jake in this process of going through things. Obviously, a good time of taking some survey and getting some information back is part of the issue if we do move forward with another show in the spring. Whatever that looks like, if money's being allocated or whatever, as much student input in the process as possible. So really for a timeline of looking and making decisions and getting feedback where you can be talking to constituents, we really want to look at making a decision probably early spring so that stuff is finalized, ready to go before students leave for the summer. With regards to locations of the concert, I would be a horrible advisor and really coming from this process at this point, we're not gonna have a concert of this caliber or anything like this on campus right now. One of the reasons for that is we do not have the facilities available for this. From the security standpoint, the stadium is not equipped to do these things. I know that was in our piece there. But really having this partnership, this town-gal relationship that we've been talking about with the Civic Center and those kinds of things, a lot of the stuff that was handled through the Civic Center, through their staff, security, all of that stuff, we could not have been able, we wouldn't have been able to pull the show off had we not had it there. So those are things to think of mind. Obviously, it's that connection piece. We look at facilities too. If you're looking at trying this again, right now there's a tentative hold on the theater for the beginning of homecoming next year, if we choose to do that. That we choose to just do another show in the theater. We don't look at ice rink, those kinds of things. So just looking through that risk management thing, really taking that and working with that venue. Again, it's up to you all as the students whether you want to do it again. But those would be my recommendations.
Even the bands themselves won't. I guess information is I work for the production company that did all the audio and lighting for this, and just the amount of planning that goes on that end too, and what we have available at the Civic Center is it's gonna cost you $200,000 to bring in a stage, even if you wanted to do that, because that's more. So that's why the Civic Center is really the only venue you can hold a band this size, and the theater was even cramming it for them. So, and that's how it is cramming in anyway, the Civic Center for anything. So, that's my 2 cents on it.
I'd just like to say thank you, and extend that to the concert committee. I think you guys put in a lot of work, and kind of like Brett was saying, it wasn't, no one can predict the future, but I think you guys did a really good job of planning and doing your best to make this a desirable event.
And send that to Lori as well, because feedback. You guys any further questions or comments before we move on with the rest of my report? I promise it will be short. Okay. So one thing, I'm going to be sending out a win is good for having a new senator or any senator in closed session about being a senator. That's one thing that we've talked about a little bit that would be good, just to clarify any questions about Senate or Constitution, really anything. So I'll be sending that out probably right after this meeting, and that way we can get that going. All chairs, could you please make sure that you look at your documents that you're going to send other students, like activity reports or anything that they're going to be sending to us, just make sure that they're functional. Also, we want to talk about Dean Man is going to be leading a committee next year for NWIC events, and Shelby Guthrie has been, I'm sorry.
Oh man. I get it right.
Grant got me in
You
that.
just fueled the fire.
Shelby's been nominated, and so if there's anybody else that would seriously like to be considered for this position, it's not going to stop Rocker Days. That's still a student thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be facilities across campus, like not facilities, the foundation, the alumni, hopefully some member of Rocker Days,
Athletics.
Just to get week events all together so that we kind of have communication. So if anybody is more interested in that, please talk to me after. Alright, so other than that,
I'm interested too. I also have feelings. Okay.
Alright, end of report. Any questions? Oh, yeah, committees, sorry. You guys probably are wondering. So here are our finalized committees. So if you're a new senator, please talk to your respective chair there in the bold up top and find out when your meeting times are, and then you can start working. So, all right. And you can just leave that out because we've all got our agendas. So, any other further questions? Any emotional outbursts from the committee assignments? Nope. All right, cool. Moving on, committee reports.
So Constitution met this week. It was kind of a short meeting. First, we want to remind everybody that re-registration on MindSync is due Monday, October 1st. So if you or someone you know knows someone that is a part of an organization, so like an officer position, make sure that you remind them to go on MindSync and hit the blue re-register button. It's super easy, not very long at all. We are working with OXC to finish their MindSync, and they're done today. So we're working on the MindSync part of that. And then Campus Ventures came in to start up their organization, so we're working with them as well. And we're continuing to work with Engineers Without Borders as questions have come up regarding the difference between them and engineers and scientists abroad. So,
I have a question if anyone in Senate knows if engineers and scientists, like knows for a fact, if engineers and scientists abroad have a national chapter. We were unable to kind of predict if they did.
I'm meeting with the president next Tuesday or something to talk about that. Or no, he can't make it Tuesday, so I'm meeting with him. But yeah, that's why.
Any further questions for Senator Rogers? All right, so now we move on to governmental relations.
All right, so last meeting we talked about some different SDSMT policies that were brought up at the Student Federation meeting. Again, who came and justified me like further action, like did you have received feedback from the student body or anything, but I guess in terms of possibly FTS policy, we can definitely start looking into that. We also talked about different ways to increase voter participation in our canvassing. So some of the things we think about is setting up so where anybody that has questions on how to be registered to vote or where to go, and then stopping to the Senate office and have information available to some works on how to help them. It's one thing that we do have a lot is creating posters that are on campus, maybe explaining some of the deadlines, explaining how to go, some of that information. So we're looking into the possibilities for that, and then also working on summarizing some of the ballot measures into pros and cons that the secretary puts out. That way that information is easier available to students as well. So, any
questions? Any further questions? Moving on to public relations.
Our Senator of the Week is Senator Duffy. Yeah. So we're thinking for Senate bonding, we're gonna do it mid-October, and we're just gonna bring in a bunch of pizzas to a meeting, so everyone's here and can benefit. And then maybe bring in a weird board games, so if everyone wants to stay after the meeting, we can hang out. That's all I have. I don't.
Senator Grozy, what happened to the survey that we filled out for Senator, like?
It took, there was problems, I didn't really know how to finance. There there's a lot of confusion with doing the financial stuff, and we just got to figure it out this week. So we think it would be easiest if
Your follow-up?
no.
I'd
rather not.
See, I would be willing to pay my own way to hang out with the other senators. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking we could do something because I know Aaron wants to bowl. Just like we just go bowling one night and everyone pays their way.
I agree with that. I think any Senate bonding, it's not on the Senate to finance it. This is just an opportunity to bond outside. And personally, I would rather not see student money spent on bonding. So that's how
That's what I was told.
So you also have $100 of discretionary funding that you can just like put as far as it goes. You know?
Right.
And then pay the rest of the way.
Any further questions for public relations? Were you finished with your report? Yes, yes. Any other questions? No? Okay. Student affairs.
Let's talk about trains. Okay, so the train noise, as you guys have probably seen, our comment board is out, and so hopefully we're getting a decent response. We're going to be using those comments to finish up a letter to the mayor's office. There is actually a task force, you will be happy to know. It is the Railroad Quiet Zone Task Force in the mayor's office. And so to appease the grumpy old men that think that the trains need to be safe, which they do need to be, it's actually a visual fund application. So transferring it from, so there needs to be some safety in regards to the train, and so transforming it into like the arms and the lights rather than the noise. And so that timer will be an incredible point to make in this letter that we are writing to the city. So thank you for being annoyed enough to take time. So if there's any other comments that you guys want, particularly freshmen, I know that I don't live on campus anymore, so it doesn't really bother me that much. And I also, when I did live on campus, I lived in Palmerton, so I had the distance factor and the Survec being in my way factor. So concerns voiced to me preferably via email, so that I can have it in writing and documented. And then we'll be sending that out to the mayor's office. Is there any comments on
Well, is a task force just a glorified committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, but I think it's like with the goal, it's the goal, and actually making movements to get something done and fundraise and get the money required to make the necessary improvements. Yeah, it's
Well, it's pretty serious committee, and it's, what they're doing is putting together a proposal to put forward to the vision funds in the city of Rapid City, and that's a sizable fund to pull from. The problem is that what they're really looking at right now with the train whistle doesn't extend this far. So that's part of the issue too, why the campus, it's good to have some involvement there to say, hey, don't forget about us down here, because we have 1,000 students sleeping on campus that are affected by the train, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For 22 seconds at a time.
Yes.
okay. Yes. And I guess our letter isn't a guarantee. Like, I just want to put it out there that that's not a guarantee that this will solve the problem. It is a safety thing, and so this task force isn't like a guaranteed solution. So we're going to do our best, but I want to put that out there that it's not like we're here to save the day and stop the trains. Like it might not work out, but we will do our best. So on that note, we're moving on. First Spirit Friday is this Friday. I'm going to pass this around again. Student affairs will be using discretionary funds to get prizes, particularly from the rocker shop. I think because it is a Spirit Friday, so getting like hard rocker gear. And so either having like a game that people play for the prizes, or people that are wearing hard rocker gear already. And so potentially, like, I know the Rowdy Rocker shirts are especially coveted, so if we can hop in on that, that would be great. And so maybe people who are wearing
hard rocker gear already can then play a game to then win, like, or something of that sort. But yeah, the sign up is going around to that. It's also potentially, it was planned on the east patio, but I think it is high of 50, and for me from New Mexico, that's pretty chilly. So just considering moving it to lower Surbeck, if anyone else thinks that's particularly chilly. Let me know if you guys are from South Dakota and think that's fine, also let me know. And then our first open forum is now scheduled for October 11th in McKeel at 6 p.m. I will send out like a more sophisticated sign up via like an Excel sheet and email. So I think the focuses are going to be like responses from the concert, responses to no finance, potentially that's something we want to talk about. Bare minimum will be 2 senators because we're going to try and make this a bi-weekly thing. But as many senators as are available, I would like to be there. So that is all I have. If there's questions on it. And then the rest of the weekly forums have not been weekly because of scheduling within Surbeck and just general Senate scheduling things. But hopefully by next semester it becomes a weekly thing.
Just one comment. It would be interesting to potentially partner with admin as well for this year, right? Just a thought, just to reach out to them, see what's going on. Any other questions for student affairs? Seeing none, we'll move on to campus or ad hoc committees. Was anybody have any?
Beautification committee met last Friday, and we had a very efficient meeting. So part of the meeting we talked about one of the summer intern, or actually the summer intern that worked in facilities has designed these awesome new signs to replace the kind of, yellowy mustard gold color signs around campus. He did a lot of research on what other campuses around South Dakota are using, and these are intended to be directional signs for campus visitors and new students. Also in the future, he's working on updating the signs like a walking path around campus. So when you're going around, it's a lot easier to get around, and they just look really, really good. Also, we talked about Senate might potentially be having the Apex Gallery director come in. We got a new one this year, and he would like to come talk to Senate kind of his vision, how we can help, what he can use from us. Do you anything to add?
Awesome. Any questions for Senate not or communication? Alright, moving on to
Would you maybe explain to the newsletters what ad hoc committees are and what their job is?
So, okay, ad hoc committees are special committees, not task forces, but like essentially targeted towards a specific, not issue, but goal on campus. For instance, beautification, making the community or the campus look as good as it can, essentially. There's a list of ad hoc committees, and you fill that out in the report as well. Those haven't been decided yet and stuff, but you will get, freshmen will get ad hoc committees and new senators. So. Anybody else meet? Yep. Moving on, upcoming Senate business. What do we got going on? I'm gonna ask Grant, he's got the calendar. Does anybody have, besides the Student Federation meeting next week? Alright, if there's anything else.
Yes, we have to get access to the calendar.
Yes. I'll let you guys right now.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other upcoming Senate business or announcements? I'm just gonna go on into that. Or
I will be brief. As most of you know, there's a lot of strategic planning efforts going on campus in a variety of areas, and one of them that really kind of kicked off this week is strategic enrollment planning. And some of the things that we've been talking about, improving student success and those kinds of things, a topic across the board is advising on campus and what advising looks like, what it's going to look like in the future, about academic advisors and know, one of the issues that we I keep hearing about is sometimes our faculty advisors, especially our really good ones, don't get recognized. And so we don't really need to have any discussion this evening, but something for you to think about is how can we recognize some of those faculty members that are going above and beyond and doing some exceptional academic advising for students on campus, and what does that look like? And so maybe talk to your constituents and finding that way, and then I would be happy to take that back to that committee and think through to how we can show appreciation for the extra work that they're doing in that room.
On that same note, and maybe this should have fallen under open discussion, I'm sorry about that. But I would kind of like to spearhead a group that would be interested in creating an award for either a community like company or organization that really is supportive of the students of the school, particularly our student orgs. So like you think about the Civic Center with all their concessions, Pancheros does a lot of fundraisers, things like that we as a student senate can just award just to show token of appreciation. We can talk about it more next week, but I wanted to get that out there because it's something I've been thinking about.
Cool. That's a great idea. Any other announcements?
Less than 3 months for Secret Santa.
Hey.
It's coming.
I sent out 2 emails today, and as student senators, I just wanted to really point out the campus security and fire safety report. That's an annual report required by the federal government that gets distributed. And I know it's awfully lengthy, but it's full of information. It really gives what the campus crime statistics are for mines, and then there's links that compare to other schools and that sort of thing in the fire report. And so just wanted to bring it to your attention, and if any students have any questions about it, you may want to address those or forward them to me. And the other one was Denim Day Awareness for Suicide Prevention. I'm wearing denim today. It's just a serious issue across the country and very serious in South Dakota. And so as student senators, please always remember to make proper referrals and to reach out and to don't be a bystander to think somebody else is going to address it or take care of it, to step up and help people. Thank you.
I didn't think about this until she mentioned the crime report, but just so you guys have eyes out there too, I heard from a constituent I saw it on Facebook, but that a bike was stolen. So if any of you ever see anything, that remotely looks like this, just, maybe call campus safety or something.
Maybe just sneak that picture and send it out.
Sure.
Just so we have more eyes. Any other announcements? Thank you all. This was a long meeting. And it was a stressful week. I think everybody's having a heck of a week. Thank you, Carissa, because it sucks taking minutes for 2 hours. So that's cool. Can I entertain a motion? Oh, wow. I think I saw Senator Law.
I move to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn made by Senator Law, seconded by Senator Dolly. All those in favor of the motion, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Jake, can I send that to you? You can just make it. That's how I know. Oh, man. So I don't have the right? That's right.
So we're well, that would make some sense because, so the thing is that he can't spearhead it, he's going to be structured.
Yes, and he talked to me about how I told him no, essentially, and I said no, sir, I can do this.
Well, that's fine, we'll keep him updated. The first thing he's
They have to submit something on MindLink first before we even engage in conversation with them, but that's kind of good to know about context. Yeah, so, but we're trying to figure out what, because RSVP, I think is just state funded, right? I believe that it's.
No, it's state funded for the classes, I think,
Okay.
but for like, so I'm planning a dine-in, which is essentially a big dinner.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I
what
registered
that
online.
is. Oh, yeah, funded by us.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
the spring, out of the rodeos, the rodeos.
Yeah, you guys get a lot of funding through there. Is that right?
Almost all of it, yeah.
That's when I registered through and I
That's
saw
when
you.
Yeah, I was talking to Brad
Yeah.
about it, so.
I was like,
About this.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, so you shouldn't have to re-up.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Grant, you would probably know. Who do I have to get to sign my queue request for again?
Corey.
Yeah.
Corey? Okay.
It autocorrected to President Campbell, or you should email still the same
Corey, and then
for
what do
Jake.
you guys have to
What do you mean?
My Google, when I
Yeah,
use
it'll be-
Resident, that's what I thought.
Alright, sounds good. Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we need some more voices.
Oh, God. You weren't even aiming for like, thank you so much.
What?
What were you aiming for?
Grant's there.
Oh, then you're pretty close. I'm gonna aim for the trash. I really did. Aaron. Really good throw. Hey,
Oh, that was so
I
close.
got excited. Time to deliver a pizza ball.
Nope.
Damn it.
This is
Oh,
terrible.
okay, I was like,
Terrible.
Thank you.
All your notes on it? It's just like this dude who does around New York, and just like.
Oh, yeah. Smart.
No,
Do it that
it's
way.
different chairs.
Do it that way. I always rearrange every single chair instead of just pushing.
You just slide them all down?
Yes. All of last year, actually, I did that, and I didn't think about it until now. Chris, you're in office.
I try.
So.
There's the little knob.
It's on this other side. So what you do is,
Where is it?
it's the whole bar.
Yeah. It's this guy.
Hey,
Do I just have to put it back out
is this
here?
a too small
Yes.
It was.
meeting room?
We kind of discussed this last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,